Hold the phone. Hold the phone. Let's see what's going on here. Hey! What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to Dano Crypto. On the channel, we show you guys how to make simple, effective, and easy moves in the cryptocurrency ecosystems. So I see we got some people in the house. Let's go. We got 6 people tuning into YouTube. Just make sure you guys hit that like button right when you first come in. That is just that's the housekeeping. That's the housekeeping rules. We gotta keep that going. That is the only rule. That is the only thing I require when you come in here is, well, it's a few things. I want you to have fun. I want you to open your ears, open your eyes, and listen. Feel like I'm singing feel like an old Christian song, contemporary song. So funny. So yeah, I want you to pay attention. I want you to have fun, and I want you to engage in the chat, and I want you to hit the like button. That's all I ask. And we are going to talk today about building and how to build a crypto portfolio and what direction you could go in. We're not going to tell you like that you have to buy specific coins. I don't like doing that. I don't really like telling people what to buy. But I can encourage you to go down the rabbit hole and just to research these ecosystems. And then that can lead you to other tokens. It might lead you to an application or a crypto game or a DeFi thing or an NFT project or whatever it may be that is a ecosystem inside of crypto, starting with the native token, whether it be Solana, whether it be XRP, whether it be Cardano or AVAX or whatever it may be. You'll just start to go down that rabbit hole in the ecosystem, and you'll start to find other tokens. You'll start to figure out what crypto really is all about when it comes to, just what's happening. What's happening around in the ecosystem. So we're gonna go off of what we've done and the ecosystems that we've paid attention to, and kind of what we've narrowed it down, and hopefully that will help you guys go in that direction and at least just dip your toe in. Start downloading the wallet, start sending transactions, test out how to send a transaction, make sure you know how to do it. Make sure you know when you are trying to send a stable coin, like you're like, what? I can select different networks. I can select 7 different network rails like Solana or Tron or Arbitrum. I mean, you do all that. So it's pretty crazy. So we're just going to get into that. And this is topic of discussion is for, new people coming into the space. And I know that if you're someone who's been in crypto, you've been doing this for years, obviously this is going to be like a snooze fest. You're like, but it's honestly really important. I think that more so now than ever, we need crypto education out here. We need to make it simple for people, because you got to remember, like, we want, retail to come back. We do want them to come back because we realize that they're not here, so the more that we can give some simple content and some breakdowns on a portfolio, or even just where to start, like even just going to, because we always do this, do these live streams and everyone's posting all this content, but they're not actually saying like, hey guys, like, this is what I'm doing. This is the websites that I'm using and where I'm getting all this information from, and where you can just lead, a new investor or someone who's just at least interested in looking at this stuff. Because I remember whenever I first got into the space, and then I learned about coin market cap, and I was like, whoa. Even back then it was simpler, and there's a lot more going on now. But I just remember going, whoa, like this, there's a lot. Okay, there's like, thousands of cryptos on here. I mean, where do you even start? So I think it's just really important to kind of, help this progression along and kind of, bend the learning curve a little bit to cater to the new investors. So I think that's just a smart thing that us content creators and people that are, crypto enthusiasts in the space, and we're making content like that. That's what we have to do. That's what we have to do. Put a 1 in the chat if you agree. Put a 1 in the chat if you agree. And also just say hi. Just like, let me know where you're watching from. Let me know who's in the live stream today. We really have to continue to constantly battle the algorithms because for some reason, which is, I think, just some weird algorithmic stuff, my channels have been banned. Both of my channels have been banned. So I think if any reason the algorithm was put a stone wall, was that for some reason my channels ended up getting banned for no apparent reason. It wasn't even given a reason why, but that definitely does not help with YouTube actually putting your stuff out there, because I feel like it's just you're automatically put in like a shadow banned, area of the algo if they've banned your channel once before. So the way that you guys have to help is you just have to destroy the like button. I mean, for instance, there's one like. So we got to get more. But let's get into the Bitcoin price here. We had some volatility. We had a nice little shakeout. We've had a really, really, really nice shakeout. And you can see that we had been running up from that 116. We consolidated. We've kind of just been trading sideways off of the all-time high. The all-time high being that 123,000. And you can see once we went down and did that really, nice consolidation, we've just been range trading. We've just been ranging between 116 and 119 and just kind of, just doing this number here. So eventually we'll have to break this resistance here. And if we continue, the uptrend, then I think, we'll be leading into that 150K, the target being 150K of another breakout. Because you can see that the amount percentage-wise that we broke out from this sideways action as well, we went up how much? We went up like 13%, 14%. So we could probably look for the a little bit more sideways action and then go up another 13, 14%. And then what would that lead us to? So that would actually lead us into a lot of these price targets that we've been hearing thrown around and be like, where are you getting that from? But this could be happening sooner than later, but it's obviously not going to come without its volatility. And so we're just watching that. And we're also looking at the altcoins. We noticed something very interesting. Yesterday, we made a post saying it's really interesting that the market obviously is cooling off. We saw that Bitcoin had cooled off. Then a lot of the liquidity started going into ETH. We started to see the ETH ETFs and the flows starting to happen. And then we started to see ETH cool off a little bit, but still stay pretty strong. It didn't go down as hard as Bitcoin did because Bitcoin was just crushing into all-time highs. And compared to Ethereum was outperforming Bitcoin. So now that ETH cooled down, we started to see the money flow into Solana because interesting enough, if you've been watching the BTC ratio charts, this is what was happening with ETH BTC. We had ETH BTC going up, trending up, finally breaking out, and now we're starting to see the same thing happen with the Sol BTC ratio. Now we're seeing the Sol BTC ratio break out, and it's correlating with the ecosystem of Solana and the Solana tokens going up because we're like, whoa, while the rest of the market is down right now, we have Radium up 5%, we have Jupiter up 2%, we have Sol up 4%, above $200 now. And so it's really interesting how the markets are moving. And I've used this analogy before, but I haven't used it in a long time, but it really is true. The markets work in this recycling of liquidity. We're getting more liquidity put in, but a lot of the times the liquidity that's already in the markets just gets moved around. It just goes like this. Or if you're looking at it this way, it just goes like this. So like starts at Bitcoin, then it goes ETH, a little bit of the alts, layer ones, all that stuff, DeFi tokens, all the tokens that are connected with those tokens. And so we just see the flow down. We start to see the chart. It's Bitcoin. Then it goes ETH. Then it's alts. Then it's memes and everything else. And then it just goes back into Bitcoin. So it's just, it all ends up back into Bitcoin or goes into stables. And this is what has happened in previous cycles too, where we've just seen, and I call it buckets of water. It's like Bitcoin is the bucket of water. Bitcoin fills up, starts to get filling over, and then it spills over into ETH. Then ETH starts to go. Then that spills into the other layer ones and the altcoins, because ETH is the sentiment builder for alts. So then it starts to flow into there. And then from the alts, people start speculating into the next thing. Out of the blue chip alts is the meme coins, low caps, more highly speculative, risky stuff. And then once that is over, then people pivot back into the strongest appreciating asset through even the bear markets and the bull cycles is Bitcoin, because it's just had that track record now. It's been established now. And so this is I'm seeing it play out. This is how you can end up building a portfolio and figuring out, okay, so there's times where it's good to be Bitcoin. There's times where it's good to have some alts. There's times where it's good to have stable coins on the side for dips or for just protecting capital. If you don't take any profits at all, then you are subject to a lot of swings and moves and volatility. And, so there is something about learning the difference between high dominance areas in the market for Bitcoin and low dominance for ETH for altcoin season. So, switch that. You say you need low dominance for Bitcoin and high dominance for ETH to signal that we would be wanting to have some alts. And when it's heavy Bitcoin dominance and alts are bleeding into Bitcoin, and all the ratios for high, large, altcoins that have been around for a while. We got like the Link BTC or ADA BTC, XRP BTC. You start to see these ratios go up to previous altcoin bull market territory. Like when you go into the daily and you look at these charts of the weekly, that's where you can get a bigger scope of data of how these ratios looked in the bull markets for these specific coins. Like for instance, XRP in 2017, look at the ratio for BTC. And then when you look at Sol, you can see the Sol Bitcoin ratio during the peak of different altcoin seasons and Solana dominance. Look at where it's starting to go back up. So it just had to test some lows. It tested these bear market lows from 2022. And then now it's finally starting to get some traction. And we can see when the ratios were a little bit higher. Remember when we've mentioned about the pre-altcoin seasons? Like we had those, we were calling them teaser altcoin seasons because it wasn't like it wasn't like this. It wasn't like this. When you see this, this is a big difference in price appreciation than this. This is like we got a teaser. It was halfway of what can truly happen. Where we're up like 500% on the Sol BTC ratio, and it's the same with the ETH BTC ratio. 189%, almost 200%. In 21, but then you can see the potential of what happened in 2017, which a lot of people are comparing this cycle with 2017, where altcoin season and the banana zone run can look something like this, where it's like it's just like violent to the upside. I've seen a lot of comparisons. I mean, I've even been one of those people that have said, look, 2017 in terms of the the returns, you know, the Bitcoin returns and the ETH returns, it's very similar. You look at 2017 on the monthly, we had bullish months in April, May, June. That whole like sell in May, go away, like that didn't work. So we might get the violent upside potential like we saw in 2017. So I haven't pulled up this chart in a while, but I think it's very important to look at. And if you guys want to do this too, you go to coinglass.com, and then in the data section, you go to the first tab of data, and you'll see Bitcoin percentage returns. And let me move. So you see this, got data, Bitcoin returns. And then there's a lot of other, there's a bunch of stuff in here. So, I mean, you can, you know, just go to town. You can look at whale orders. We like looking at the whale orders too. We'll look at that in just a little bit. But this is pretty interesting, because I think 2017 was a very interesting cycle. It was kind of like, you know, there was more coins in the market. There was more attention in looking at DeFi. But then truly you know, we had the DeFi summer in 2021 and basically in the beginning of the year in 2020. And you can see how that really like kind of shot the market up a little bit in just Bitcoin returns. But then you can see how in April, May, and June, this was the time that BNB, I think I can't remember exactly the month, but it was crazy. It was like BNB went up 800%. And then we had the whole DeFi summer. We basically had DeFi summer, and it was crazy. We had stuff like Axie Infinity. We had the crypto gaming bull run. We had metaverse tokens. It was just wild. Like, things were getting crazy and overvalued with no product, like no product at all. Like, so it's really interesting how that can happen. And now that we have stuff that is offering products and we have things that people can test, we have less people in the market to test it because retail isn't here to test it. But now it's gotten better. And I think if retail was in, they would be able to get possibly, you know, a better experience, user experience. That's still always the work in progress for a lot of these applications and these companies, is that, like, how do we build a good user experience that keeps the user using the thing? And if these companies aren't doing this or researching this, then they will fail. They won't get users, you know. You know, the only reason why Pump Fund had as many users as it did is because it at least the user interface had a bit of a social aspect to it, gamified aspect to it, and I'll at least give them that. But everything else about their business model and tokenomics and the percentages that the company makes off of people just losing a lot of money, I don't really agree with that. But that's your own fault. It's a double-edged sword. It's like, if you want to do that, you have to know what you're dealing with. You're dealing with high greed and no mercy. High greed, no mercy. These like companies that make these things, like, they do not, even though they want the users to use the platform, they're not valuing the users. It's very small bunch of companies that will actually, give decent incentives and airdrops and stuff like that for using the platform. For instance, one that actually was, I think, very fair was recently Jupiter. You know, last year or the year before, it was sometime last year, yeah, where we had a major Jupiter airdrop, and it was for people that were using the platform on a regular basis. There was a kid that farmed Jupiter doing perps and spot trading and swapping and just kind of using the platform like crazy. And they airdropped that guy over $1 million in Jupiter tokens. It's pretty amazing. I mean, I got an airdrop as well. It wasn't $1 million, but it was still cool. Like, so I don't know. We'll see how this pump fun airdrop, if it even happens. We'll see what happens with that. But shout out to everyone who's here today. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna drink a little bit more coffee. We got lasers in the house. We got Eric Espacino. What did I just say? Eric Espacino. What did I just call you? Espacino? Eric Espacino. It sounds like a famous Latin American music artist. Eric Espacino. Oh my gosh. Okay. So let's stay on track here. I want to direct a little bit of attention. If you haven't been following me on TikTok, I finally pulled the trigger and said I gotta start like catching up with Morad on TikTok. I'm getting there. I'm not getting thousands of views, but I'm getting hundreds, so I'll take it. But we're hitting the algorithm. I know. Yeah, you do need to change your you do need to change it now. Now it is forever Eric Espacino. Espacino. Eric yeah, I'm like Eric Epstein-Cino. Eric Epstein-Filesino. Lord, that's a whole topic. I've tried to avoid that topic because it's just like there's too many rabbit holes you can probably go down. And I think the best way that you can think about it is that there's probably in these files a lot of leverage for both parties. Everyone. Maybe it's deeper than we even imagine, that it's just like it just means there's probably implications for a lot of different sides that would be scrutinized, and we might not ever know, the full truth. And so it's just like, you just don't know. Like the talks of, Trump being in it. And then there's the defense that, okay, well, if Trump was in it, then why didn't the Biden administration release the files? And then that's what begs the question and the curiosity. Well, then there's probably a lot of different things in these particular files that would dismantle a lot of different things. That's kind of how I think about it. But I'm not focusing on that. I don't care. I mean, at the end of the day, like I myself have to take care of my family. I'm still gonna do good in the world as best as I can, and in the immediate things that are around me right now. I think that's the best thing that you can do. We're not working in the government, and we don't have very much say about what is happening with that particular thing. I mean, to be on, just to be real. So if you focus on it too much, what is it doing? It's just taking your mental power away from you and focusing on the real goal. You gotta get rich and have more freedom, so then you can not spend your time worrying about that, or maybe you can start then, now that you took the time and mental power back to get your money up. Now you can maybe start a foundation that helps to work against trafficking. Or an organization that helps donate food to families that have been affected by whatever. There you go. Then you just now you put your energy and your time and if you really care, then that's the path that you could be led to do that. So all these people that are wasting their time worrying about this stuff are missing the plot. It's called the ripple effect. It's that's what it is. It's like if everyone did that, then it would be a ripple of good like juju and good vibes going around and rippling out to then make a difference. But it starts with like doing it in your like actual like life and yourself first. I don't know. This is at least what I think, and at least that is what I've learned over time. Because I used to worry about stuff like crazy person and get myself so in my head about stuff, and I wasted my freaking time. Whether it be with like relationships or girls or friends or situations where like I could have just like not have worried about things so much. What a waste of time. You're living in the past. You know? So I think about with this stuff, with things that we don't really have full control over, it's a massive distraction. But it's built that way. It's like that's how the media machine works, and propaganda is that like let's get them to focus on this so it'll take their eyes off the actual prize, which is their freedom. If there is any system, they need you. And if you are weak, you will be used as a pawn in the system. But if you're strong, you'll build up your own empire locally and strength, whether it be with your family structure, however you want to do it. I'm not freaking judge you. I don't care. You can do however you want. But as long as you're a good human and you're taking care of your people. But that's the goal, you know? That's the goal. And just like, you know, be generally nice, like, when it counts. I don't know what were we talking about? What were we talking? I don't even know what the hell we were even talking about. What were we talking about? The Epstein files? That's what I like. If I would really talk about all this political stuff, man, I can go for hours. But we already do go for hours. Well, I learned a long time ago, like you cannot judge too hard because you really don't know like what people are like going through. You don't know like their situation. It's just like seeing like a person who's maybe homeless and they're out on the street. I mean, you have no idea what happened. You just don't know. I mean, you in our like monkey brains, we like to think, oh, it's their fault. They probably didn't doing this, or they're addicted to drugs and blah blah blah. You don't know. You have no idea. You have no idea. You don't know if that person just had a just domino effect of like bad thing after bad thing after bad thing, and they just broke. And it was just that, and then the one last one thing, it was the one that cracked. So yeah, you just gotta, I don't know, you just gotta like be kind. Just gotta be nice when you have the opportunity to. And then when you do, it's something interesting happens. You like feel something, in your black coal heart. You're like, oh, I can feel love and joy, And then you realize that the whole media machine that's built around you being stressed out and worry and just worrying about everything, you realize that, wow, you can feel happiness and joy, even though there's bad things happening in the world. But if you can just tune into the love and just like, okay, like I was, I don't know. You get what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying, guys? Sometimes we get a little too focused on, You know, I thought about this the other day. I was like, you know, I've been really like money centric and just very money like in my mind, and just thinking about like, how do I get ahead? How do I get more money? How do I get ahead? And you got to balance yourself out to be like, well, wait a second. Am I like being a good human? Am I being tense or too much like in my family? Am I checking up on my friends? You know, like, am I balanced? Like, am I actually focusing on that stuff? Because like, so I think people in crypto, and when you're in trying to like do this, like we sometimes get locked in, and we're like locked in. Like we forget that like we have other things that we have to tend to, and your own personal health. Like, are you taking care of yourself? Like I for months, I think I was blasting myself out, like staying up too late, looking at the charts too much. I wasn't even like getting up and drinking like a full glass of water. I was just like going right to the coffee and on the charts from the moment I woke up till like 11 o'clock. And I was like, I didn't even eat anything yet. So that's also key too. You have to have balance. And so, craziness. But all right, so let's get into how having balance and actually in your own life, and also trying to balance a portfolio and learn things about yourself in this market. It's going to help you overall with everything, and that's what's crazy. So to answer your question, Lasers, the CME gap that I believe was at 114, or there's one. We have to look at the daily. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the gap. Yeah, there was a gap at 115, 114. You can see it right here. I'll box it so we can keep an eye on it. We'll put a little boop. Actually, we'll just go like here. We'll just make the box right here. That's the gap. Perdita, yeah, Tai Chi helps with balancing my energies. Yes, I don't know if you guys got this from me already, but I was like, and still am at heart, like I was a major hippie dippy, you know, like meditating and, you know, incense and crystals and, you know, woo woo, all the stuff. So I was for a while like doing the Tai Chi, you know, like I know how to build up an energy ball pretty strong to where it almost feels like I have like a Kamehameha. Like I know how to do the press, like the energy press, like really build it up like an old Chinese man. So yes, I know all about that. It's probably what I need in my life right now, to be honest. Like I need more of that. Like I think more so now than when I was doing it back then. I didn't need it at all. I just needed to get my ass to work and make more money, stop messing around and being a hippie. And so I kind of did backwards, but it's okay. It's like now I should be meditating and doing qigong and all that stuff. Tai Chi, Qigong, whatever. All right, so yeah, gap at 114. Do we think it's going to get filled? Well, it was trying. I think it tried. Oh yeah, okay. I like this one. I like the 360 uppercut. That's the one I like though. That's the one that I actually want to use on certain people in crypto. I just want to like 360 uppercut people through the damn ceiling because I don't know. They just need it. All the people that were bearish ETH this whole time need a 360 uppercut and a Hadouken. 100%. 100%. All right. So I don't know. Like it looks pretty strong, but also this does look like one of those little sneaky cat. This is cheeky cat. I call this the cheeky cat. I've seen this before. I'm sure you guys have seen it too. It's pretty funny. So it's the cheeky cat. Look, here's the ear. You got the cat right here. Got the ears. And it basically kind of just goes and it'll fill this gap. But if we really want to get it like right on the money of exactly what we think this would do if this is that pattern. So look, it's going to run up, test. Now it establishes this cat head. It will test back up again, but then it does a double top. And then it gets rejected back down to then fill the gap. And then it bounces. Okay. Now, if it fills the gap, guess where the fib extension is if it fills the gap? It bounces right into the gap. Where's the price? Where's the next breakout target? Well, it's at $128,000, my friends. And it's basically as easy as that. So if it does do this, this is the thing. It's going to get the 786 is at 121K. That would be an area of resistance or an area that we're going to at least probably test back up to before we see if this is the setup. This isn't a guaranteed setup, but this is your neutral case scenario where you're still getting momentum to the upside if you want to trade it. Like if you want to trade this, you got a 2% move on Bitcoin. But you have to know that you're probably going to want to set a take profit around the 786, which is 121,685, because that would be a resistance point. And then if it hits resistance there, then you have two levels that you can watch that it would bounce from, which would be all of these levels right here. But then you just have to think, then you have the gap. So then would it hit here and then reject down into the gap, fill the gap, then bounce? I think that's a pretty decent technical analysis setup where you have your neutral, your bullish, you can see where the retracement can happen, and then you can see where the breakout can also continue. And imagine though this does fill, and and you have a limit order set, and you snipe a limit order at this point, you're looking at a potential breakout percentage for Bitcoin that would send it up another 12%. And then that lines up with the 13% move that just happened right here, where if you do a price, where is it? Where the hell is it? I always have a hard time finding the price line. Where is that? Price, yes, price range. Yeah, 13% right here. And then another 13% from the gap right here. I mean, it lines up freaking perfect, guys. What the heck? I mean, that would be amazing. And also, like, if you're a person that is brave enough to short in the bull market, then I mean that could be like a pretty, if you see mega resistance happening right here, you know, that could be a short opportunity if you think from there the resistance would lead us into the gap. That's also a setup you could do as well. But you have to be like a ninja though. Like that's the thing about shorts. You can do them, but look at how the nature of these shorts now have been getting liquidated with Bitcoin's momentum. And you have to be quick because then you never know, like just in a couple days, the next leg up is going to be like douche and it just goes. There's only a couple opportunities where you can get a really decent short, and then all of a sudden it's like bam. So you look on the 4 hour, we had that double top right there, and this is what you have to watch out for. So you see those double tops, and then that actually brought us down good 30%. So yes, you can short, but then you got to think, okay, you've got to be able to take the profits, get out, because pretty quickly it'll go right back up. And then this was if you're looking at this chart too, is really interesting. We could explain a lot about the Wyckoff pattern happening across a lot of these altcoins. And we think if the Wyckoff pattern has been happening on these coins, then the institutions are wanting to buy more of it, and they want to run it up into new areas of all-time highs. And so this was the nature of Bitcoin if you're looking at the CME chart right here, even on the 4 hour. You can see it. We had that high, run it down, W pattern, break up, consolidate, boom, hits that next level of resistance, and then it basically just does the little sideways action to push it back up to crush into the previous area. So it's so cool. I love how the markets are just acting very healthy. They're not being too scammy. I think the exchanges they can only scam, they can only range trade stuff for so long. Like when you look at these liquidation levels, you look at the liquidation heat map, you just look at how they just ranged the thing. Look at how they ranged it on the 24 hour. Like you look at the 24 hour and look, they're just like, and then before you know it, then it can't be held back. It cannot be held back. That's kind of how I feel about the overall crypto markets. Like they cannot be held back for much longer for institutions and banks and just like everyone to be jumping on board and really, really, just playing along. Like I've always used this analogy. Like if you can't beat them, join them. That's kind of what happened with the banks and all of the TradFi. It was like bound to happen, just like every evolution and revolution of tech in our existence as humans. We go to the next thing, and the thing has to stuff has to morph and fusion, and then eventually, there's going to be just things that we don't use anymore. Like the facts. You could still fax some stuff. Yes, you can still use fax, but it's just, you get the idea. People thought email was crazy. I love that example too. That people thought like email was just like, what? What are you talking about? It's a revolution. And speaking of communication and like email and stuff like that, and like in chats and encrypted chats and decentralized networks. This is pretty cool. I think this is pretty amazing. Jack Dorsey dropped an app that lets you send BTC even with zero internet. And so I guess I kind of knew this. Like I know they have this type of technology, but because there's so many Bluetooth devices, the way that you can connect with Bluetooth through other Wi-Fi signaling, it like piggybacks off of Bluetooth and Wi-Fi to be able to then ping from phone to phone through that network. It's really interesting. I don't know if I'm explaining this correctly, but it's so cool. And it's total matrix type of stuff. And it's called BitChat. Offline messaging and Bitcoin transfers via Bluetooth low energy mesh network. So it's a mesh network. So yeah, so it's like I basically explained a mesh network in the most, rudimentary way. It's like they're basically, because of the nature of Bluetooth and Wi-Fi and how it can basically piggyback off of each other and ping and connect. It's fascinating. I love it. But does Jack Dorsey know something? What does he know? What does he know that he has this where he's like, well It's always the conspiracies, the conspiracy theories start coming out. What does he know? But no, I think it's just like, it's just really cool. It's just people creating stuff, which is always, which is good. You know, it's not like this and this type of stuff. Because I don't want to say, oh yeah, people creating stuff, because yes, people created the atom bomb too, and look what that did. So, and all the process of, you know, of science, you know, we've had a lot of destruction and chaos from people, you know, pushing the boundaries. Yeah. Hey, Carl, you went too far. Hey, Frank, can you not release that deadly virus? Can you not test that? Hey, Wuhan, why all the labs? In the name of science. But yeah, this is cool though, because this is kind of just like, yeah, it's an encrypted chat that you can send Bitcoin to other people, and you don't have to, you know, worry about third parties or anything like that. It's honestly, it's really cool. I want to test it out. That's the next step. Instead of just talking about it, you got to test it out. And that's always what the whole point of my channel and the way that I like to present crypto is that you got to just use it. You got to just like test things out. And sometimes you'll test stuff out and you'll forget about it. I mean, you'll start using something else, or you'll start to really like actually use something, test things out. Like for instance, like for me, Solana, I tested Solana out in 2020, 2021 and 2022. I was testing out Solana. I started to kind of dive into that ecosystem, and I was like getting Orcanauts NFTs and learning about Radium and looking at these different tokens, and I've kind of just been like in and out of Solana for a while, and I'd actually use it probably more, the chain that I've used the most in terms of sending stable coins around from like exchanges or wallets, and because it's fast, it's cheaper, it has USDT support now, which before I think it was like it was a little bit more limited, but now you see the stable coins and the amount of TVL that's happening with Solana native. I mean, you know, so we have to test stuff out. You got to test stuff out. We've tested out Metis, you know, we like Metis, you know, but then we haven't tested out in a long time. There's stuff that you'll just like eventually get led to and you'll test it. Like I got led to Nakamoto Games and Vulcan Forge in terms of crypto games, and those have dashboards and in games that they've made themselves and like fully in-house stuff. Also like with third-party developers, and they just have their own cool little niche ecosystems that they're building, and I really like those because I've tested them out, and I feel like they're kind of like low cap, like secret little gems. But I like testing it out. You got to just see what you like, because you might end up being like, you know, a forever user. You know, you just like you love it so much. But yeah, so building a solid portfolio. You know, I think a portfolio's strength comes from what time and place we are in the liquidity cycles. Because we've noticed that in terms of liquidity cycles, we have had our peaks, we've had our down moments, you know, we've had, you know, where sentiment was, you know, kind of low, and these are the moments where people, this moment right here in the portfolio was where people were the most bearish. They were calling for ETH was just dead. Alts were just going in the toilet, and you know, and all the while Bitcoin was really strong. was getting stronger, and dominance was getting higher, and on like peaking, almost getting to 70% Bitcoin dominance. So, so I think when you're thinking about building a portfolio, and say you're new and you're coming into crypto and you're like, I don't know what the freak is going on. I think the best place that you can start is to just download the wallets first. Like, learn about the wallets, download the digital wallets. That's your thing that you're going to need to be able to have your digital signature and signage for getting into DeFi applications. And because the nature of the digital wallet, it's not just on your phone, but it's on your browser. You know, you have it as an extension on your browser. You know about this already. You use extensions on your browser. So you got to think about this as like, okay, this is my digital money wallet. This is my digital money wallet signage. That is like, this address is mine. And the only way that I can access it and put it on a device is if I have my seed phrase. That's your password. But when you have this public address that you have, if you're downloading it from MetaMask or a Phantom wallet, whatever the native wallet is, a lot of wallets have multiple networks in there and addresses that you can use, for instance, like Trust Wallet. And now MetaMask, it was just Ethereum-based, and also layer 1s and layer 2s that are going off of your Ethereum ERC20 address, which is the public address. Now you have Solana on MetaMask. So now you have a Solana address that's linked with your MetaMask. So, you know, this is the stuff that just like the basics. You just got to know that there is all this. Because like when you're new coming in the space, it took me a little bit, the learning curve to figure out. I was like, what? I was like, swapping. How do you do the swaps? Okay, you need gas. I was like, what is gas? Okay, you have to pay the transaction fee with Ethereum. Okay, but then if it's a layer 2, some of them use Ethereum, but then some of them don't. If it's layer 1, okay, then it's using that as the I mean, come on. Like, how do you, like, you can't expect like new people to come in and immediately kind of know this stuff. So you have to kind of just start with the basics. So you just get them to download the wallet. And once you learn the basics of like the wallet and then the networks and all that stuff, then we can start somewhere. We can start somewhere. You can start thinking, okay, on these networks like Ethereum, you have stable coins. And just like we were talking, how you need to learn how to there's stable coin networks. There's different stable coins, and then you can use these different networks and send them. So just like if you think about Venmo and Cash App and all the different money app they're using a network. They're just using a type of network to send the digital USD. You just don't see it. You're not making that choice. They're just making the choice. That's the difference in how you have to think about crypto and your money, is that for once you are making the choice of what you want to use. You make the choice of what you want to pay. You want to pay Ethereum gas? You want to pay Solana cheap fees? You want to pay the layer 2 whatever you want, because it's your choice. It's your money. If it's in your wallet, you get to do whatever you want. If you want to swap your coin for this coin, you can do that. So that's how that's the whole point of crypto. That's what really got me interested. And when I started to test it, I was like, oh, wait a second. I was like, this is how you can just be your own bank. You can DeFi, decentralized finance, your entire operation of finances if you want to, and not have to ask permission, not have to go through the bank, and not have to do this nonsense. You can literally just do everything yourself. And that's the beauty of it. And so even if you start to do this on a small scale, like you kind of basically debank yourself, and you have like most of your stuff operating on crypto and using those payment rails and using those services. So That's the start of actually building a proper portfolio, is just like getting the tools to do so. Because a lot of people, they'll go right to the exchanges, and I'm like, no, you need to use the exchanges, of course. You don't have to. Let me actually clear what I just said, because that didn't make any freaking sense. Let me actually be very clear. You don't have to use the exchanges at all. You can go full DeFi. 100%. Don't have to. Don't have to use the exchange. If you want to, you can. They have great services. I use some. Not to say that I use everything. But we all know what happened. And if you don't, I'm gonna remind you guys, and I'm also telling the new people, if you're watching, you're new. Exchanges, when you have your crypto on an exchange platform, it is not your crypto anymore. Every single exchange, it doesn't matter what it is. It's not your crypto unless you have the seed phrase and the clear and like it is in your wallet, in your cold storage or whatever, then it is not yours. And you just have to know this. So practice whenever you are using these exchanges. See if you can get it off. And that's where you start to withdraw, send transactions. You start to use the ecosystem, and you start to get as far as, oh, I can hold Harry Potter Obama Sonic 10 Inu on Ethereum and on the base chain. Okay, I got made some profits on my trades, and I want to send ticker Bitcoin without paying a high Ethereum gas fee. So I end up sending ticker Bitcoin to the base through the base network, but to my Ethereum address, which is the same on all of the networks that are capable on my Ethereum MetaMask wallet. Do you understand? No, then you need to just now you need to get in the rabbit hole, jump in, and start doing this, because you need to have control of your own money. You need to be able to do whatever you want with your money and be able to just have it and all these. That's what this is for. It's DeFi. It's assets. These are our assets now. In our world, our generation, this is our asset class. It was the stock market for the boomers. They get to have their their 401ks and cash out and sell their house for $600,000 when they bought it for like $80K. Cool. That ain't happening for us. That dream is long gone. Guess what it is now? It's freaking crypto. And every freaking retail person out there right now thinks that they're going to get the same setup that their parents got. No. And honestly, some young people are starting to figure it out. They're starting to actually see it on TikTok or these shorts where and a lot of the times it's girls. They're like, I'm working, I just got out of college. I have $60K in student loan debt. I tried to get a job, but they won't hire me. And I'm living not in my parents' house anymore. I have to pay rent. And there was like a girl, she was like, I'm in my car. She's like, I'm about to be living in my car. So it ain't the same. It's not the same. It's very different. So what do you do with that? But yeah, I'm looking at the comment. I'm trying to read the comments too. Perdita said, I'd rather use an exchange than a bridge to transfer between networks. That's just me. But yeah, honestly, I've never had very trouble with the bridge. I've bridged on MetaMask like directly, and it usually uses there's what's the one Rainbow Bridge. Rainbow Bridge has been around since I remember seeing it in 2021. There's a couple different bridge networks, but yeah, I mean, most of the time, it's totally fine. Like for instance, MetaMask has a card, a debit card, but it's using the Linea network. So for instance, if you want to, say you have stablecoin, say you have some USDC on Ethereum, ERC20 Ethereum, like mainnet. You just go into the MetaMask wallet and you just hit bridge, and you bridge the USDC from Ethereum, select the network, and you select Linea for it to arrive over there. And it should only take less than 60 seconds for it to arrive on the chain. And then if you want to then now use your MetaMask debit card virtually, which I actually have set up, then you can literally, boom. The cheese Well, Mike Joey, I don't know what you have been talking about. Alligator sandwiches and Cubanos, and I've just lost track. I went to the first comment that I saw that I'm looking through in my little spread. Yeah, nacho keys, nacho cheese. Okay, and then Mike Joey said we can do Munster cheese, smoked Gouda. Laser said, yeah, my parents bought their house for $60K. It's now over $350K. Yeah, it's like, what? And then the like our generation, either if you were born in like, maybe late 80s or, in the 90s, you are now having to buy a freaking house that's like overvalued by like $150,000 to $200,000 overvalued. It's like a piece of crap. It's like was built in the 90s, and you're like, I'm buying a house that was built in the 90s for $400,000. And and you look back in the tax in the tax record on Zillow, and you're like, what? They bought it for how much? $60K? And you're like, no. You're like, absolutely not. You're like, you are not going to make out like a bandit like that. I'm sorry, but you are out of your mind. These people out of their minds with the house, with the price. It's insane. I get the sentimental value. I get it. I've had the sentimental feelings too. But guess what? People need freaking houses to live in. And they want to actually sometimes, some people do want to buy a house or at least have a chance. But guess what? Even if you get the house for $200,000 or however much you're going to pay for it, you better buy it freaking cash. Because guess what? The mortgage and all the costs that comes into home ownership, no one ever runs the numbers. You better run the numbers, because at the end of the day, you could be renting something for the same price and be saving about $15,000 or $20,000 average a year. Because guess what? All through the year, you're going to have to repair stuff. Things break. You think things are going to be perfect. They're not. And your pipes, something happens with the electrical box, a roof leak. And you know how much roofing jobs cost whenever it's just some section of the roof? $10K minimum. Yeah. No one ever runs the numbers. And guess what crypto does? Crypto makes you start to run the freaking numbers. You start to think, what the hell am I doing? Not running the numbers on everything that I do. I've had to learn the hard way, folks. Like I'm telling you all this from experience. This isn't me just spitting some stupid shit that I saw online or some video that I saw about, oh, this is how you start budgeting. No, it's like I had to learn it the hard way, going through it. I did all this stuff. I bought a lemon. I bought the money pit. I did all that stuff. So you better listen. And please, if you're about to think about getting into a mortgage or buying a house, you better think twice and make sure that you ran the freaking numbers. The ones they don't tell you. Realtors don't want to tell you the real scenario. They want to make money. They want to sell the house. They want that commission. They're not going to say, by the way, this house that you're buying is going to cost you $20,000 extra just in the first year. Do you have an extra $20K? No, I don't. Then don't buy the house. My daughter's looking at me like I'm insane. She's like, you are off the chain in there. She's so funny. But it's true though. If I could go back 3-4 years and just like in myself now with what I know, I would drop kick myself. I would like John Cena run into the ring and go boom. And I would be like, don't you ever. I would, oh my gosh, if I saw myself 4 years ago, oh man, I would tackle, oh man, gore that dude into the ground. I'd be like, you listen to me right now. Don't you ever, I'm like, don't you get that car payment? Don't you ever get a car payment? You buy that car cash. No, you don't need a house. You actually need just a nice place for your family to live for a little bit. You don't need all that stuff. Oh, you started making more money and then you scaled up? No, you just did all the stuff that you're not supposed to do. But it's easy to get trapped because that's how society works. That's how society works. They trap you into these mental thought patterns and processes of why you need that. No, you don't. You need freedom, money, and time. That is the most valuable things. It's not the car. It's not the house. It's not the whatever you are attaching the thing for your emotions to feel something. It's not that. What you really want is freedom and time. And what's going to buy you that? It's not all the freaking expenses. It's not up in the ante and having $6,000, $7,000 of expenses in the month. You are trapped then. You are a slave to your own doing. It's freaking crazy. But I told my wife the other day, I said, you know why I like crypto so much and why I've just become basically addicted to it is because it has sharpened and tightened up me so much in the way that I view the world and the way that things are run. I'm like, oh my God, and all it has done is just made me just like more focused on these really important things. It's very interesting. Dude, no way. AI Griff, are you kidding me? Wait a second. You said me and my wife agreed with that 2 months after we got our house, $5,000 for a septic field. Oh my God. So you had to change out your septic field? Are you serious? AI Griff? If you had to do that is because I had to do the same thing. when we got our house appraised, we had this bonk appraiser that I think was friends with the realtor or something, and they just just didn't mind to tell us that it was like a piece of kind of like a piece. You don't know, it's underground. I mean, you have to get it in properly inspected. But we kind of were like, we just were kind of greenhorned on that. We didn't really understand the situation, and lo and behold, there's like a giant hole in it. It's like leaking water, and just like it was like a disaster. So yeah, we had to. It was just like it was just a freaking nightmare. Yeah, that's why you have to this is what's so crazy about real estate. It's one of the biggest traps in human history for families is to start to think you need to be a homeowner. Especially when you have like a baby, a family, like you have to like make sure you have like extra cash to be able to take care of your family, but you end up having to take care of the house instead. And I'm like, it's a nightmare. And honestly, I think more people should talk about it because it really is a big reality for a lot of people, especially the people that bought houses in the past 3 years, 4 years. They're hurting. They're hurting really bad. And they ain't going to really tell you about it because they feel embarrassed or they feel, like a weird thing about it. And it's just like, why are you so weird about talking about money? Don't you realize that that's the thing that it can get you out of your freaking troubles and you don't want to talk about it? The hell are you talking about? This is why I have a channel about crypto. I talk about money every single day because guess what? If you don't know about it, you're not educated, like I've used as the example, the system will take advantage of you because you're not going to be strong enough or knowledgeable enough to combat everything that's working against you. So start to pay attention. I hope you're not getting scared off by what I'm saying right now. But I think the rants are working because we got 17 people in here. I always told my wife, I was like, this is what people like. They like you to just run your mouth online. And she said, great, because I really don't want you to do it to me. Because if I didn't have a channel to do this and a platform to do this, my wife's ears would be bleeding for 24 hours a day. I mean, it would just be a disaster. So thank you for taking the onslaught so it doesn't have to go to my wife, because she's like, I've heard about it enough. I know. She's like, I know. Just buy Ethereum. Don't sell it. I get it. Every time she asks me, like, well, what should I? She's like, should I sell? I'm like, no, just keep buying Ethereum. Because we're one of those sad suckers that thinks Ethereum is going to go to 10K, but at least we have some data to back it up. We're not just like throwing freaking numbers out there. AI Griff said, your truth hits hard to the everyday person. I think so. I mean, I think that I'm just trying to tell the reality, because like I think a lot of people are really, truly, they are like, they might just feel uncomfortable talking about some of these things. Perdita said, we're here to save your marriage. That's funny. Oh my gosh. Yeah, crypto. I think crypto in general will truly save my marriage, because it'll make us very rich, and then my wife would be like, okay, my husband's not an insane person for trying to start a crypto YouTube channel and talk about crypto. It's like, but if only she knew, if I just showed her Alex Becker's channel and his most recent crypto video, she'd be like, okay, you have a chance. At least I'm not holding literally like a golden eye, a desert eagle, and screaming pump. But maybe I do need to do that, All right, so let's do some ETH TA. So what happened here was we had basically on the 4 hour looked like an inverse head and shoulders. It was kind of like an inverse head and shoulders thing. but the right shoulder like got all wacky. It was like this. It was like it started to do like the stanky shoulder lean. It was like, let's just show the lean. Let's just show the lean. It was leaning down, and then it finally broke out, because once you break the neckline of whatever it is, if it's inverse or just a head and shoulders, it kind of tends to kind of eye the previous resistance, which was right up here in this channel. You can see it. You're looking at that channel right here. And it got pushed right up into this sweet zone, this sweet spot. And we marked it with that purple line, that 3,700. We said that was the key. We said from this point, if we break 3K, Ethereum's going to basically violently go up to 3,700. And if you were here on my live stream, you remember me saying this. I said the fibs are being respected, very much so. And if we can break through them, then it's just obvious that we're going to be crushing up to some decent territory. We're hitting previous resistance, so this was like, the Trump pump resistance. We're going to call this the Trump pump resistance, where all alts in the market was just like, yeah, no thanks, and just went down. And now we're testing back up. So this is my price trajectory, is the 1618. So Bitcoin recently broke into the 1.618, which was the Fibonacci extension that we did TA on a week ago. And it hit exactly. Ethereum recently, where the TA where we did with the Fibonacci extension for this price call for 3,300 and also 3,000, we did it right here. We'll just show you. We called the price. Sometimes you actually have to pat yourself on the back a little bit, because while everyone thinks they can predict the market properly, I'm doing actually a pretty damn good job of predicting where these movements are headed. This was July 16th. It's currently the 22nd. In the morning before this move even happened, I said, we're probably going to hit 3,300. It's just like, you can see it in the chart. And it's basically been holding strong since then. Basically, since we got over 3K, we've been holding it. Whereas before, we were hitting massive resistance. So I think a good price target for the short term for Ethereum right now is 5,700. I think that's fair. And honestly, with Benjamin Cohen, if you watch Benjamin Cohen, his price target is exactly in between this range. It is between 5,700. God, what is wrong with me? 5,700 and basically like 8,400. Now, when is this going to happen? I am kind of like... Okay. Where's the chart? Where's my chart? Where's my chart that has the trend on it? It's like the channel trend. Oh, there we go. Logged. Yeah, I was like, where's my log chart? Okay. Log chart. Now, this is like a mega bullish call here, but the channel, if you're looking at this as a channel, we would at least touch up into this upper channel according to the trend. So, if that's the case, and we get the type of, so we've used these few examples of what's the catalyst that will push ETH. It's not retail. Retail's not coming in to buy ETH. They will later. They'll probably buy ETH at like 7K. That's fine. Who cares? But the institutions, they're running this thing up to 10K, okay? Because they're inflowing into the ETFs and TradFi is coming for ETH. All the stable coins are basically, for the most part, are getting minted on Ethereum. Other networks are being used, but Ethereum's the main choice. Why? Because it's the most established smart contract platform where you can tokenize everything. And that's what the banks and the institutions and the hedge funds and the whatever, all that stuff, all the things, the companies that are issuing the ETFs, BlackRock, Fidelity, Bitwise, 21 Shares, VanEck. This is the ETF inflows. Doesn't it look familiar? Kind of looks like Bitcoin's volume. It's going to continue to go. It will push Ethereum into price discovery mode, which will line up with the trend that's happening right here and line up with these Fibonacci extensions. So I think a good conservative case is that we'll at least in this year, October, we're probably going to be at like an 8K ETH. That's instead of me saying, oh, 10K. I think in October of this year, we will be in between $7,000 and $8,000 Ethereum. That's fair. I think that's fair. That means I'm not like overzealous. That means I understand that we can see some volatility. We can see, it's not going to be like a straight green God candle up to there. But if it lines up with how I'm looking at these patterns and how we reacted bouncing off the trend line last time, look at the movement here. Look at the frigging movement here. That's how you end up getting ETH from the bottom going up 500% from 1,400 right here. Doesn't have to touch up on this line. It's just like how the total cryptocurrency market cap, it doesn't have to touch up to this green line. Geez, it could at least get to 30 trillion. And guess what? Our bags are going to be flying. I mean, they're going to be in the private jet in space. Everything is going to be flying at that point. Just pack your bags, It's like we've seen how violent some of these coins can go up. If you were watching the markets in 2021 at any point, then you saw what the bull market kind of looked like and tasted like. We didn't get that experience in 2017 because that was even crazier. Different market, kind of a little different structure, less coins. But I think we haven't hit that yet. I don't think we've hit that level of euphoria. Not even close. That's why I'm not getting spooked to sell or I mean, gosh, a lot of these altcoins, like for instance, like a perfect example of an altcoin that is still just like, what? Like it's $25 AVAX, for instance. AVAX is probably one of the most bullishly neutral like chains and coins, and is involved in a lot of different things. Like it's for gaming and finance, and you can do DeFi. There's memes. And AVAX is popular. I think, like in general, I think the sentiment around AVAX is like they like the people like the dev, the CEO, like the I can't remember his name right off the top of my head, but he's always seems like he's got a good energy, like easy to work with. There's the AVAX summit, a lot of developer support, and so go AVAX. It's $25, and we were just not that long ago at 54. We were not that long ago, just last year in March, during our little teaser altcoin season, was at $61. If you're going to go off the Fibonacci extension and say, okay, well, I mean, we'll at least get back to those even just like the 2022 area, 105 in 2022. Can we give me a break? What? Okay, so there's some strength here. So we're still in a time to accumulate altcoins. And then especially if you believe in Bitcoin and you think Bitcoin's going to go to $1 million over the next 4 or 5 years, then you're scooping up the dips. Like anytime, like we just went back down to 116. That was your opportunity. There was your dip. Because you might not get that dip again for a little bit, because it's just, look at the next level that we have marked, 157. train just starts to kind of go. So what do? You have a plan. You figure out what coins you want to start to research and go into. Doesn't mean you have to buy them. Feel good about buying it. I mean, if you don't feel good about buying something, don't do it. But if you just narrow stuff down, like learn about the blue chips. Like, look, I had to dive in and learn about Ethereum and the smart contracts and all that stuff, and it led me down into eventually learning about Solana and the whole nature of like the layer 2s and the layer 1s. And so you just start there, like figure, buy a little Ethereum, get $50 worth, send it, swap it around, buy $50 of Ethereum, swap it for some stable coin, then send that stable coin to a friend. I don't know. Just, you got to start there. And then you start to learn about the meme coins, and you start, okay, which one kind of resonates with me? You might resonate with Pepe. You think it's funny. You know the meme. You start to kind of, and then if you're really new, like you can just be as easy as like, look, go to coinmarketcap.com, and they make it really easy to say, okay, these are the ecosystems, like we talked about, that are popular right now. One of them being the memes. As a retail person, you're coming in, you know what a meme is. You post memes. You probably post memes every day. Well, guess what? A lot of these memes have become assets and coins and tokens on a blockchain. Some of them being their own chain themselves, called Dogecoin. And so what you could do is look at what popular memes are trading right now. And then you can just start to say, okay, that's funny. Oh, I resonate with that. Like, what? Oh, I like penguins. Oh, that's cute. And then just narrow it down. You narrow it down to a very simplified portfolio of like, okay, I got my blue chips. I see that. Okay, I learned about Ethereum. Now I learned about Solana. Okay. You have a little bit more exposure into some low cap stuff. You start learning about the memes. You start to learn that, oh, Pepe and ticker Bitcoin or whatever meme you're going for, oh, it's on Ethereum. And then you start to learn, okay, then there's Solana. I learned about Solana. Now there's coins on Solana. One of them that I like that I've kind of just gravitated towards was Ponky. Dogecoin for me, that was like the massive onboarder for to get into crypto. Some of those same retail people might remember Dogecoin, and then you start to be a Doge holder. You start to say, okay, well, I can use the Doge chain. Start to learn about the ecosystem, and and then just narrow it down. 10 coins. You can have 10 coins. You have as easy as 10 coins. You don't have to agree with this strategy. You don't have to agree with it at all. But I think that's the best advice I can give for someone who's new. Because I get it. There's way too much stuff happening right now. You get on this and you're like, what is even going on? And so what you have to do is you got to trim the fat and just narrow it down. And I even realized I ended up doing that when I first got in. I kind of was just like, what caught my eye first? It was like Cardano, Chainlink, Polkadot. I remember Polkadot was actually my first transaction that I sent. Okay. My first transaction was Polkadot, and it was from Gemini. I bought Polkadot. I bought Polkadot on Gemini, and I wanted to transfer it to Voyager. So that was my first I think that might have been like my first crypto transaction was using Polkadot. So that was just kind of so I ended up kind of following those things for a little longer, and then I started to learn a little bit more about Ethereum. I was DCAing into these things. And some of these and then I think AVAX was one of them too. But yeah, like in some of these things, I still follow, I still chart them. Like I don't hold as many of those things now. I've kind of like narrowed it down pretty aggressively, even more aggressive than I thought I was going to. Like for instance, like right now, my portfolio is pretty tight. Like I just hold a very few things, and I'm not like giving up very much liquidity for anything else, because I've explained my thesis. You know, I think the memes are going to probably outperform everything, and it's through the nature of how Ethereum operates and acts. And these coins haven't even seen an all-time high for Ethereum. So the way that I think about it is I would much rather have exposure into these multi-cycle, you know, communities and meme coins and stuff like that, because that's kind of where I feel like it makes sense for me, you know? And then I'm going to, you know, use Bitcoin as like a kind of like a savings account, and I'll use other blue chips and things and stables, and, you know, I'm going to always be in the cryptocurrency ecosystems. But I think really, truly where like massive life-changing gains have happened have been the memes. And you can't deny it. Like you can't deny it, because, you know, the VCs and all these other cryptocurrency projects, you know, they obviously have to get you to convince to buy the token, you know, but the meme coins and the communities do it the best. They actually do it with almost sometimes zero funding, where they didn't even have to pay a bunch of KOLs or whatever. And it's just like, for instance, look at Pepe. You know, do you see Pepe sponsoring channels? Do you see Pepe, like, you know, do you see them doing what like other derivative coins have to do? For instance, you know, Peasy and Apu are sponsoring David Goldstein's channel, but it's not Pepe. It doesn't have to. It's an open freaking chart. Ticker Bitcoin, as much as I would love for them to sponsor the channel, they're not sponsoring any channels. It's called the community builds its freaking self. And sometimes you don't even have to pay for it. That's what's very interesting about the meme coins. So, yeah. Maybe I'm crazy for thinking that, but I don't know. But I do have a very strong thesis on this. And where I have seen that I could have made way more money being in meme coins and Bitcoin than being in like kind of a little bit of Bitcoin, and then like having like too much exposure into these altcoins and not the memes, I could have made a lot more money. So it's funny how you end up figuring out what is the intuition and instincts that you felt in the first time you came in, ended up being pretty validated over the next couple years after the dust settles and after everything ends up happening. And you're like, wow, I was right. I just got very distracted by all the shiny things. So shiny. Shiny. My daughter is like, you are crazy. She's like, you probably need to stop streaming. You've been streaming for 2 hours. But we're gonna have some fun today. It's daddy camp day. It's daddy camp. There's no more summer camps. I can't, you know, we're not dropping her off at places, so gotta figure stuff out. How many of you in the chat have kids and are doing the summer thing? All right, I'm telling you, we just had 20 people in here and we have 10 likes. That means the people that came in here, they didn't like the stream. You know what? I'm gonna make this is an immediate rule that when you come into the stream, you have to hit the like button. It is non-negotiable rule. Yeah, I know. I've said, yeah, Daddy's trying to onboard the masses and yell at people and rant online and get paid for it. It's been successful so far. Well, guys, I highly suggest it. If you can figure out a way to find some kids, figure out a headband. I know headband has a son. And his son is actually a really good artist too, really dope artist. I've seen his artwork. It's really good. And my kid's artwork is actually astounding, and I know where she gets the skill from. Her mother is just a natural artist. Like whenever she'll just draw something in 2 seconds, and it looks like it would take me like 2 hours to do. I'm like, cool. You know, there's some people that just like when they do certain stuff, it just looks good immediately, and you're like, how do you do that? Yeah, if you guys ever have the opportunity, meet someone cool, and you're like, yeah, they could probably have a kid with that person, and you trust them, you know? I mean, why not? Give it a shot. Give it a shot. What do you got to lose besides your sleep and a lot of money? No, all jokes aside, it's been honestly like the best thing in the world. It is very rewarding. It's not easy. It is tough, but it's also the best thing in the world. It's really cool. And you learn a lot. You learn a lot about yourself. You by survival, you have to learn patience, because if you don't learn patience, you're just going to get destroyed. And so there's just a lot of really cool things that you end up learning being a parent. All right, is there anything else pressing that we need to talk about? I think that's it. I mean, we had some, what did we had some clips. Where are our clips? We had a couple clips. Where are some clips? Did we have some major news? Because really there's not any major news. I think everything is developing according to plan. Jerome Powell, I don't think is going to get fired or resign. I think what's going to happen, here's my guess. This has been my call for Jerome Powell. If you want to know what I think about Jerome Powell and what's actually going to happen with the Trump administration, this whole shakeout, I think Jerome would like to finish out his term. The only way that he's going to be able to finish out the term and land where I think they want to land is they got to play ball with the Trump administration. But then that also means that is blurring the lines between the influence between government and the Fed. But if you think about it, why was there always this direct separation between the Federal Reserve and the government? Well, because the Federal Reserve is running the biggest Ponzi scheme in the world through the central bank and printed fiat currency that's tied to nothing. It's tied to absolutely nothing. It's just printed in thin air. And we have to pay taxes on that triply. We get taxed 5-6 different ways down the river on the same income. That's printed out enough thin air. So, if you're wondering why there's such a pushback on, well, we really want to make sure that the government and the administration doesn't have of influence over the Federal Reserve. Well, yeah, no crap, because if it did, then we start to peel the layers back of what's really actually going on. That would be the nature of what this is why. So here's the deal. I think what's going to happen is that Jerome Powell's not going to resign. He's not going to quit. He's not going to get fired. Trump can't fire him. The committee has to agree on this. They would have to pressure the committee, but then there would be probably a pushback from the entire committee that then the Trump administration is overstepping. Regardless of if he's the president or not, they still can't do it because the Fed, they're very smart. They've had those provisions set from the drop. They have those provisions in place for this reason. So what's going to happen is that they're going to play ball. They might cut 25 basis points this meeting just so they can play ball, because they want to cut the rates, but they're trying to do it slowly for some reason. That's what I haven't been able to figure out. I'm not an expert, but I'm seeing how this is playing out with the Trump administration pressuring the Fed. And I see how Jerome Powell's personality is when just the way that I can tell how he is. That dude ain't going anywhere. He's going to finish out what he's trying to do. And if he can do this by bending the knee a little bit, he probably will. So then he can continue and then finish out his term, which I think ends next year in May. He still has 6-7 months. So I think that's a good breakdown of what I think is going to happen with the Fed. I don't think Jerome Powell getting fired would be actually a positive reaction in the market. It would mean uncertainty. And markets don't like uncertainty. Markets sell on uncertainty. So we want resolution. We want resolution. Yeah, that's also a good observation too, AI Griff, is that the Fed is opposition against the Trump administration, and they're using the Fed as a weapon against all of the plans that the Trump administration has. That could be also a thing as well. But then the Fed's plans, I think, have been set for a long time. You know, you got to think from coming out of COVID. I don't know. But either way, it's all leading up to just like why would you want to have trust in that system anyway? And it's all the fiat-based system. Get out of it, because look, Bitcoin is also what's signaling this. We told you guys we don't own any silver, but didn't we tell you? Didn't we chart silver and tell you that just wait, this thing is going to literally just be trending up to $50 an ounce? And this is exactly what's happening. Literally exactly what's happening right now. And we saw this because gold obviously is going to go first, and then silver is going to be after. It's done it before in the past. The only reason why silver gets pressed down a little bit, someone was explaining to me who's in the market of jewelry, said that because of the nature of what suppliers need silver to make stuff, they can't overinflate it. It can't pump like gold, because it's like gold is just more like, not a lot of actual things that are in manufacturing use gold, but a lot of stuff in manufacturing uses silver. And he said they won't ever let it like break out, because then things would just go out of control. So they suppress it purposefully to make sure that doesn't happen. I was like, oh, okay. That's what he said. But I thought that was interesting. They gave me a different perspective and outlook on the difference between how gold and silver moves in tandem with each other. Doesn't mean that silver won't break into these levels, but it's not going to be as quickly as gold. But what it does is it gives you a stable option of a commodity that you can be in besides the dollar. You know what I'm saying? Because we said, look, if you can get a stable return of 60% over the next year and a half on silver going into next year, and you're getting 40%, guess what? You just beat inflation. You just beat inflation with a piece of metal. But you don't even have to. You can just own paper silver. You just be trading it. I mean, you can even trade silver's futures and still be up on inflation. Because if you're trading silver's futures and you realize the nature of it not being as volatile right now as gold, it's a little bit more like it'll move a little slower. That means you are getting a stable silver's futures like bet on a 60%, or on maybe I'd say an average, probably like 35% base case, going to $53 in between the range of 49 and 60. And you could have that as a long swing trade into next year. I've been thinking about this. You know, I don't just think about trading crypto. Like, I think about this stuff and I'm like, that's how you like can put size into something. This is how you can put like $5K on a silver's futures options bet and be like, I'm going to cash this baby out next year. You can be thinking about this in terms of the stocks as well, that are these crypto stocks connected with the crypto treasuries and the ones that are, bullish crypto like Galaxy Digital, or, then the actual like crypto companies themselves like Coin, Circle. Circle had a massive pump though, so it's cooling off. So you gotta keep your eye on these things. But yeah, I don't know. This is kind of where my brain's at right now in terms of the macro, and where we can still get exposure and stable gains, not just in crypto, but even in things like silver. I mean, it's pretty interesting. But all right, guys, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. We're gonna go ahead and end the live stream. Did a nice little hour and 50 minutes of alpha and rants. Just remember, you can't go to the White House to get the fact sheet for the presidential sign of the Genius Act into law. So this was posted on the whitehouse.gov website on the 18th, so you can kind of figure out like what the heck this is all about. And then, yeah, I think that's about it. That's about it. Really appreciate you guys coming in today, and appreciate all the chats and the interactions. Shout out to Eric Espino. Yeah, now it's Eric Espino. Eric Espino, Lasers, AI Griff, Headband, Mike Joey, Hornet. Let's see who else. Perdita, thank you so much. You guys are the most active in the chat today. Really appreciate it. Let's see who the top fans were. The top fan with the most experience points on today's live stream was Eric Espacino. Welcome to the stage, Eric Espacino. And then we got Lasers in second place, and well, what do you know? Jerome Powell in third place, and Headband in fourth place. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome, and thank you to everyone who's watching on X. We had 112 people watching on X. That algorithm. Thank you so much, and honestly, I have to thank the Sprotos for and the Ticker Bitcoin holders for just pumping my X algorithm right now. Honestly, the coolest, most supportive community in crypto, and they're also just like off the chain. They're a little unhinged, but I love it. And but yeah, we just love the support, and yeah, it's just really cool. We've just noticed like just a massive uptick in people tuning in and just seeing what the Dojo crew is all about. And if you want to be a part of the Dojo crew, just remember, all you got to do is just come and just tune into the lives, tune into the live streams, and see what's happening, seeing what we're talking about. And also, if you want to consider becoming a member of the channel, you will get access to cool emojis and all the things. And yep, just make sure you do that. All right. That being said, see you on the next live stream. Have a good day.
This token is the end game. It's the shitcoin of shitcoin. I mean, imagine telling your coworker you're quitting because Harry Potter, Obama, Sonic 10, and you coin. Boom! Imagine the media reporting on Harry Potter, Obama, Sonic 10, and you. Ticker is Bitcoin, breaking 1 billion market cap. Now, unless you hate money, go ahead and visit
HPOSNI.com.